The International Coaching Federation, or ICF, is an organization that has come together to promote the profession of coaching. It's a nonprofit organization that supports the profession. It's made up of around 1,000 members and is constantly growing. It was established in 1995. And one of the actions that this organization put together was to create a code of ethics for the executive coaching profession. That code of ethics is split into 4 parts, including the thoughts on the coaching philosophy, the definition of coaching, standards of ethical conduct, and a pledge of ethics. The philosophy on coaching that the ICF has is very clear. It's the client is the professional, and they are the expert on the subject matter, and they are the creative ones, they are the resourceful, they're a whole person, and that coaching is only meant to help them identify the resources that they already have available to them and treats them as someone that the client will serve themselves, and the coach is only there to help them work through their problems. The standards of ethical conduct are actually broke down into 2 sections, professional conduct at large and professional conduct with clients. I identified 5 of those codes that I found were most important. The first one is actually under professional conduct at large, and it reads, "I will not knowingly make any public statements that are untrue or misleading or make false claims in any written documents relating to the coaching profession." And I found this one to be important because it covers the aspect of this profession as a whole. Executive coaching is a growing profession, a growing field, but it's not very well known. And in my research, I found that there are some misinformation about executive coaching and some scare stories out there that would lead people to believe that they would want to stay away from executive coaching. So for me, I think that that's an important code because it just states out front that I'm not going to mislead anyone to think that executive coaching is something that it's not. It's a tool, but it's not something that's going to solve all my clients' problems. The expectation is that coaching will lead them to solve their own problems. So for me to apply that in my own practice, I think is quite easy. It's already spelled out how you're going to do that. You won't say things that are untrue about executive coaching. I think as a business person, you don't want to oversell yourself with something that is completely false. The second code that I selected was also in the professional conduct at large, and it reads, "I will accurately create, maintain, store, and dispose of any records of work done in relation to the practice of coaching in a way that promotes confidentiality and complies with any applicable laws." So that one's pretty straightforward. Again, important. Record keeping is important in any profession. And I think when you're dealing with such confidential subject matter with your clients, that you need to make sure that you're upfront with them of how you're going to maintain those records. Obviously, as a coaching or counseling consulting professional, you need to have a good record keeping plan together. And we actually just covered that in our previous assignment. And so the things that I will do is make sure that I, sustain those, electronically somewhere where they're, a password protected, or if they are in a file cabinet that they're sealed away. This is something that we've all had experience with in any profession. I think you have some sort of record keeping. So again, I think that one's a pretty straightforward on how I would approach that, and why it's so important is obviously the legal aspects. The last thing that you would want as a coach or a business person is to not have those records available. If you were pulled into a court situation, those records are going to be invaluable. The other codes that I selected were actually under the professional conduct with clients section of the Code of Ethics. The next one was, I will construct clear agreements with my clients and will honor all agreements made in the context of professional coaching relationship. And the reason I selected that one is I think it ties really well with that record keeping. We spend a lot of time talking about the contract between the coach and the client and making sure that all aspects are covered in that, whether it be billing, how frequently you will meet, maybe even what subjects you'll talk about, how involved you'll be. Will you be doing live action coaching with the client? Where are you going to meet? What, travel costs, that sort of thing. And so having that clear agreement, that contract up front, is going to be a huge part of the coaching-client relationship, because the last thing you want to do is get into the relationship and realize that there's something that wasn't covered. So to do that, I would have a very robust contract up front with all the clients. I think would be a form available that we would make sure we covered all aspects of that agreement up front and make sure that we are in agreement. And if there are any questions that come up throughout the relationship, it's important to step back and address them right away. The next code that I selected was, I will not knowingly exploit any aspect of the coach-client relationship for my personal, professional, or monetary advantage or benefit. So again, quite obvious why that's important. As an executive coach, it's likely that you probably have expertise somewhere else. For me, I could see if I were to pursue executive coaching as a profession, it would be a side profession. I would still want to be involved. It would be a side project. So it's important that I keep those two things separate, and I wouldn't try to, take anything that is confidential information and try to apply it to my own business needs. So that's why I selected that one. That's why it stuck out to me. To do that, again, have a very clear-cut agreement. If I were to pursue executive coaching as a profession, in addition to my current role, I think keeping those two things separate would be important. Obviously, I wouldn't be coaching anyone that is a competitor with my organization or anything like that. The final code that I selected was that I will suggest that my clients seek the services of other professionals when deemed appropriate or necessary. And I think this one kind of ties back to the first one we covered with not misleading my clients about what services I would provide or what executive coaching is. So you get into a relationship where maybe, worst case scenario, maybe there's a drug abuse or some sort of abusive situation that as a personal, but it's impacting their professional life and it's starting to rise to the surface. Well, that's not my area of expertise, and I would be very quick to lead them to someone else that can provide that. We talked about what sort of toolbox we would have as an executive coach, and one of them is having many, many people available that you can rely on. So knowing who you could refer them to that would be able to help them with their services, I think will be important. The final part of the Code of Ethics is the ICF Pledge of Ethics, and it's just a commitment to professionals to follow this Code of Ethics. So I won't read through all of that. The other section covered in the Code of Ethics is conflicts of interest. So obviously to avoid that, you don't want to be, like I said, coaching someone that's a competitor or that you're, trying to extrapolate their ideas and use them to your advantage.